Alright, first and foremost, I want to say Kalalal, Yahweh, Bashem Yoshai, Bashem Kodash, the banners to the elders and apostles of Great Stone, and salutations to all the brothers pushing this work in all sincerity and in truth. And the brother Yahya from James Kingston, Jamaica Camp, here once again with a quick lesson. Going into the health of the mind and how it's connected to the gut or the stomach, right? Starting off with the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 30 verse 15. It says, health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. There is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart. The joy of the heart means the joy of the mind. The word heart goes back to the Hebrew word lab, which means mind, right? So there's no joy above the joy of the heart, right? So now it's not strange that the scriptures actually make mention of these two things in the same breath, right? It says there is no riches above a sound body. The word sound, it goes back to being wholesome. It's a synonym of wholesome. It's a synonym of healthy, right? So it says there's no riches above a sound body and no joy above the joy of the heart. Why does it say that, right? It's because the body is actually connected to the mind. When you're healthy in body, you're also healthy in mind, right? Because what you feed your body and what you do with your body has a direct relation of how your mind operates. The chemicals that are fed to your mind from the gut, some of the things that you eat, right? It provides the body with nutrients, which also affects how the mind works. The chemicals that are released in your brain. You understand? And I'm going to read a little excerpt from a book known as Limitless, called Limitless by Jim Kwik, right? Which is a really good book. If brothers can get their hands on that book, it pretty much gives you certain enlightenment on how to improve your memory, right? And it's in this excerpt that I'm going to read, it gives some understanding of how there is a relationship between the gut, between your stomach and your mind, right? So without further ado, I'm just going to get into it, right? This is from the book. It says this section, right, is your second brain. So it calls it the gut, your stomach, your second brain. It says, my students tell me after they learn about the vastness of their brain, they have a whole new sense of worth, that their self-esteem grows overnight. Here is more good news. You are not limited to just one brain. You have a second, your gut. Have you ever had a gut feeling, that moment when you just knew? If you have ever gone with your gut to make a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach, did you ever wonder why that was? Hidden in the walls of the digestive system, this brain in your gut is revolutionizing medicine's understanding of the links between digestion, mood, health, and even the way you think, right? And the scriptures kind of make mention of this, right? When you jump to the book of Sirach chapter 31, right, verse 20, it says what? It says, sound sleep cometh of moderate eating. He raise it early, and his wits are with him. But the pain of watching and color and pangs of the belly are with an unsatiable man. So sound sleep cometh of moderate eating in moderation, right? And when you wake up, as in when you eat properly, right, you're going to have sound sleep, right? And your wits are going to be about you. When you look up the word wits, right, it says with mental capacity. Then more commonly Giwith, understanding, intellect, sense, knowledge, consciousness, conscience, right? So you have to eat moderately, and not only moderately but healthily, right? Let's look up that word moderate. You know, moderate. Not excessive in amount, intensity, quality, right? Originally of weather and other physical conditions, within bounds, right? Observing moderation. So you have to eat within bounds, and the bounds that I would advise you to eat within is the bounds that the scriptures has provided. There is a law of what you should eat. Is in Leviticus chapter 11. It tells you what is lawful to eat unto you, right? And these foods are also supposed to be eaten within a certain moderation, within a certain time frame, so on and so forth. So sound sleep cometh with moderate eating, right? He raiseth early, and his wits are with him. Your mental capacity is with you, and that shows you how the stomach is related to the mind as well, right? Because if you are eating, and your eating is basically not aligned or out of proportion or disorderly, it's going to affect your mental capacity. That's the point that's being proven there. So back to this, it says scientists call this little brain the enteric nervous system, and it's not so little. The ENS is two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal tract from esophagus to rectum. That is from the thing that connects your throat, and it lines from there to your rectum, right? It says science is only beginning to understand the brain-gut axis and how it affects your brain, our moods, and our behavior. Is in society of science to really fully comprehend how directly related your stomach is with your brain. That is why you're supposed to trust in the idea of the Father, because the scriptures pretty much highlight these things, man. Say you eat properly, do a look at exercise here and there. See why? Because our internal systems are all connected, and it all is interrelated. You see me? You cannot do bad things in one and expect good things in the other system. See, you can't do bad things with your respiratory system and expect good things in your nervous system. You understand? You can't smoke, see, and expect say your full entire body are gonna be fully functional. Everything is interrelated, it affects each other. But with the gut, there is kind of a direct relation between the brain. So we have to be very conscious and mindful of what we put in our body, because it does affect the brain. It says science is only beginning to understand the brain gut axis and how it affects our brains, our moods, and our behavior. You may hear it referred to as brain gut connection. In the last decade, we have discovered that the gut has an outsized effect on the way our brains function. One can liken it to the way a tree functions, and this is important, so pay attention. It says the roots in the ground are drawing up vital nutrients and water from the soil, as well as communicating with other plants. Those nutrients are then brought up into the body of the tree, fortifying and building the trunk and giving the tree what it needs to sprout new leaves each spring, which in turn gather light, another energy source. In the same way, the nutrients we take in are absorbed through our intestines. We rely on those nutrients to fuel our brains. While our brains take up very little of our total body weight, they use 20% of the energy we take in. So nutrients make a huge difference in the way our brains Exactly. In the way our brains function on a day-to-day basis, right? The gut is lined with more than 100 million nerves, and it makes up part of the NS system, the enteric nervous system. When a baby grows in the womb, the ENS and the CNS, in the central nervous system, develop from the same tissue and remain connected via the vagus nerve. In many ways, the two systems mirror each other in structure. They also both use many of the same neurotransmitters in function, including serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine. As with central nervous system, we used to believe that we are each born with a certain amount of cells, and that's it. But like the brain, we now know the enteric nervous system makes new neurons throughout adulthood and can be repaired when damaged. The gut is made up of these neurons as well as connect a network of bacteria that form the microbiome, and as with the brain, each of us has our own unique microbiome. What's more, these nerve cells operate through startling similar pathways as the brain. In 2010, neuroscientist Diego Bohorquez of Duke University discovered that the anterior endocrine cells of the gut had foot-like protrusions that resembled the synapses that neurons use to communicate. This caused Bohorquez to wonder if these cells could talk to the brain using signals similar to the way neurons do. He hypothesized that if this were happening, they would have to be using the vagus nerve, which connects the gut and the brain cell. After further testing, they discovered that the cells do in fact use the vagus nerve to take up messages and send them to the brain faster than could be done via the bloodstream. Understand? So that is the point, man. The brain is directly connected to the gut. So be mindful of what you put into your body. Be mindful of how you treat your body by the content that you put into it, right? Because it will directly affect your mood. Your mood will end up going down. You will end up having headaches, having things that are not mental, not fitting for your mental capacity, fitting for your mentality. Is it not beneficial to your intellect or to your intellectual capacity? So be mindful. Let's just get 2 more precepts and then we can wrap it up, right? So this is just just an example of how the food that we eat, how important it is to how it reflects in our body, right? So this is an example from Daniel chapter 1, where the king Nebuchadnezzar was going to pretty much give the children or the princes of the children of Israel food from his inventory, and they made a request that, look here, feed us pulse, which is vegetables, and they were seen to be more healthier than those that was fed from the king's inventory. So let's read it, get a greater understanding. So just for start at, typically I like to start at 1 so you can get the full story. It's not a long chapter, so let's get it seen. It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of Yahweh, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Right? So Daniel and the rest of them, you see me? Daniel, Ananiah, and Mishael, they were no lightweight. You see me? In Israel, they were well learned. They were learned men. They were men of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding was imparted unto them by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So they had knowledge of the herbs. They had knowledge of how the food was very vital to their overall well-being. You understand? So it says, and the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. For he gave unto Daniel the name Belteshazzar, and to Ananiah Shadrach, and of Mishael Meshach, and of Azariah Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart, is in his mind, right? Remember that the word heart goes back to the Hebrew word lab. It says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat. He would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, man. Let's look up that word defile. You know, it's important to look up some words so that we can get greater understanding. You know, defile. It says to desecrate, profane, to make foul or dirty, right? To make foul or dirty. So he decided to himself that the meat, the portion of the king's meat, would make him foul or dirty. You see me? Which in turns I will make him mine foul or dirty. You see, him not gonna have him wits about him. You see me? So him say, him proposing in him heart, so him not gonna defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now Yahweh had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who had appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall he make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Melsar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Pulse and water. Right? It says, then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat of the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melsar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. As for these 4 children, Yahweh gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king commuted with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all Israel realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. Right? So this is the point, man. Is in Daniel had this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of what to eat and what to consume to make himself wholesome, to make himself to make him have him wits about him. You see me? So with that, I hope that this was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. I want to say Kalalal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to all the brothers pushing this work in our sincerity and in truth. Shalom.